Hi, Bearded Rogue here today. It's a little late, but it is the 15th of Vlogust, and being about halfway through, I didn't want to fall off the rails, so here's one anyway. And today I'm going to talk about 3 things I love about this game, Masques. This is a release from Fantasy Flight. It has another name, I believe it was Intrigo. However, this is the Fantasy Flight edition, is the one that I have. And it really reminds me of Game of Thrones in a lot of ways, with different families fighting over the influence in a city so that they can become the ruler. So let me go into the 3 things I love. So the first thing that I love is that each player is playing a family. So we've got the pink family, and the purple family, and the green family, and this red family here. And all of these are completely identical. They're just an arbitrary player color for people to have. However, at the beginning of the game, instead of giving you a deck of cards that belongs to your family, the entire deck with representatives of everybody is shuffled together and you draft. So, let's say I am playing green. Okay, let's say I'm playing green here. House Dundalo, or the Dundalo family, however you want to look at it. And this is my opening hand. So, I have a red 2 and a pink 2 or a purple 2, which aren't very powerful. And then I have 2 green cards, a green 3 and a green 2. Well, the green 3 is really good for me. Inside the deck, there's 1 4, 2 3s, and a 2 of each color. And then there's also some neutral cards, which are, let me see if I can find one here. This guy, yellow. And the yellow ones are strictly blockers. They don't really belong to anybody. But let's say I drew this hand here, and I'm playing green. I probably want to take this green 3, because that means I get to play one of my more powerful cards in the deck. And passing people their 2s, including my own, is not that bad. I'm not going to run myself into a lot of problems there, so this is probably the right play. When I get the next hand of cards, I get this. So I've got a neutral 2, another 2, and then a red 3. I probably want to take this red 3, just because I don't want the red player to have it. This red 3 is one of his more powerful cards, and I could potentially place this somewhere that it does nothing for them. Like, for example, I could place it next to my 4, should I draft it, or if somebody puts it out there. So the entire game, every round before you play cards to the table, you'll draft from the whole deck, making that decision of which cards I'm going to have in my hand that I'm going to play for the round. Am I going to take my own, even if that's, like, I draw my 2, which isn't a very powerful card? Or am I just gonna, take someone else's 4 in the hopes that I can play their 4 somewhere where they don't get what they want or what they need? So there's a lot of ability that you have to control how the other players' turns go based on the drafting of the game. And so you got to think not only how do I draft to my best benefit, but how do I draft to the other player's detriment, which makes it a very unique mechanic. And so that's something that I love, is that you draft your hands at the beginning of every round, and you may not necessarily have your cards. The second thing that I love, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the rule book. One thing I do not love is the rule book. It's a Fantasy Flight game, so it takes a while to find things, but this is the setup. So in between all of these spaces is where you play your cards, and on either side you'll have either a space that grants money, which you can use to hire people, or one of the many guilds of Venice, so like the church, or the vintners, or the scribes, or the military, or whatever this treasure chest represents. I don't honestly remember. But the way you win the game is you actually get to 4 rank in one of these guilds, or you get one in all of them. So each player has one of these cards in front of them that starts on 0, and then you flip it over, and you can turn it to note what rank you are with those different guilds. And these are on the table face up where everybody can see. So everybody knows what you need to complete your win condition. And the win condition happens basically immediately. So if I'm sitting at 1, 1, 1, and 0, everybody's going to do their best to keep me from getting grapes, if at all possible. Why? Because one more grapes, and I win because I have one of each. Or if I'm going really hard in scrolls and I'm sitting at 3, they know that anywhere a scroll shows up, they need to make sure that I'm kept away from it. So the fact that your win condition is known and influences the play of all of the other players around the table is really neat to me. You're not just racking up points. You're not just trying to wipe the other people out. You're specifically trying to gain influence. And so it works really well from a perspective of gauging who's where, and I've seen people come from behind. You have the one player who's sitting at only needing one guild, and everybody focuses their efforts on stopping them, and then the other person gets the 2 that they need. I've never seen this game not end on the final turn, like nail-bitingly, with which one of us is going to pull it out, and that makes me really love it. So the fact that the win conditions are trackable and visible for everyone. It also influences the drafting that I love. You start looking at, do I want to take this person's cards because they're obviously in the lead? Or, do I want to focus more on my own cards? And again, I love the drafting part of this game. So the next thing that I love in this game are these guys right here. This is a whole deck of people. So one of the things that you can do when you're acquiring money in the game is you can actually hire these people that all have special abilities, and they sit in the center of the board, and they get progressively more expensive. They're never any added to the game, so the first one of these guys that you hire is worth 2 coins, and then he's removed from the game once he's hired, and then 3 coins, and then 4 coins to get his special ability. So all of them are unique special abilities that you can use during the game, and you play them instead of playing one of the cards you draft. So if you drafted someone's 4, you don't necessarily have to play it. You could just use money to play one of these guys instead to do your benefit. However, it gets more expensive as the game goes on, as people hire these. So you can kind of sandbag your opponent's plays. But each one of these has a really powerful ability, like being able to swap the items on either side of him, the money for the guild crest, or the guild crest for the money, or this guy who can flip one over. He flips it over for the round, so even if you win it, you don't actually get to claim it. It instead sticks around for the next turn. Or this one right here, the guard, who can move people from one place to another, so you can relocate people. Or the assassin here, who kills somebody. Flips them upside down so they don't have any strength and don't count for who gets the items that are adjacent to them. Or this one right here, where you can name a card, and whoever has that card has to play it to a location adjacent to where you play this card. This can be really powerful. Like, I play this down and go, my house is 4, and now you have to play my 4 to one of the 2 locations adjacent. And if only one of those spaces is adjacent, then I can pretty much lock down where you're playing it and kind of manipulate your hand. Or the gondolier, who lets you swap people in spaces. So all of these are incredibly powerful abilities, but they're only worth 1 strength. So putting these guys on the board is also dangerous, because on the board, any of these guys lose to the other player's 2. So when you play one of these guys, you're getting a really powerful effect, but you're also potentially giving up on getting the items, because these guys don't block very well. They don't block. If two people on either side of an item have the same strength, then neither side gets it. However, these guys really aren't good at blocking anything except themselves. They will, however, defeat a dead person if it comes down to that. However, neutral never claim tokens. The neutral characters never claim tokens. So that's Masques. That's 3 things I love about Masques. It's a really tight card game. Comes in a very tiny box. It's really good with 4 players. I like it with 3 players. 2 players is also good. In 2 players, you actually play 2 families. So it's kind of like a 4-player game, but with each person having a little bit more control. Either way, it's criminally underappreciated, and it's extremely cheap. For what it is, but it really, I really want to do a re-theme of this with the Game of Thrones universe, with the, Lannisters, Baratheons, Starks, and probably the Tyrells in King's Landing as the different families, and all of the different people jockeying for position. I really think that that's something that, if Fantasy Flight wanted to, because they have the license for this, they could do. It's a really fun game. It doesn't take long to play. It's got, the gorgeous Fantasy Flight production values, and it's a card game that doesn't play like anything else I've played. So there you go. 3 things I love about Masques. Bearded Rogue, signing out.